Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is supposed to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So yes, in today's video, I've got my little curls here. And we're going to discuss the complexities rather than hair of asexuality and how to navigate those. So yes, discovering you're asexual can be a mix of emotions. On the one hand, it can feel so amazing that you found out and discovered who you truly are. But for some people who discover they're asexual, they don't actually like being asexual. Some people are in denial that they're asexual. They don't want to admit that they're different to other people, that they don't like sex. They just like to kind of hide the fact that they're different to other people because they see life as too complicated, calling themselves asexual. And even if they have no desire for sex, they still like to call themselves heterosexual. Otherwise, they find themselves weird and they find it difficult to understand themselves, and they find it difficult to accept that this is a life they're going to have, right? So they kind of sometimes have a negative mindset about asexuality. They have a hard time trying to come to terms with the fact that they are asexual, and this can cause like difficulties for them in their life. So asexuality can be, simple in terms of like, oh, right, you're asexual. So what does that mean for you? But it's also very complex because it can mean different things for different people. So once you've come to terms with the fact you're asexual, if you have come to terms with the fact you're asexual, you've then got to decide, like, where do you fall on the asexual spectrum? Now, some people like labeling themselves, some people don't. Some people think labels are prisons. Other people feel liberated by labels. So it's up to you to discover and define who you are. But I find a lot of people who are asexual come to me and come on this channel not knowing their own identity in terms of asexuality, and that can be really disconcerting for them. And they really just want to discover who they truly are, and it can be like they're searching and searching for answers until they find something they're comfortable with. And the reason they do this is for a sense of place, for a sense of their own identity, so that they can actually understand themselves better, so they can put a word to how they are feeling, so they can put a name to how they're feeling, so they can get to know themselves better, if you know what I mean, and feel like they do fit in somewhere if they didn't fit in with the wider sexual orientations in the world. And so it gives them some comfort, some peace of mind often. Obviously, if you're fluctuating, if you don't understand that there's actually, there's actually ace flux, where you can fluctuate on the asexual spectrum. You can fluctuate between asexual and, for example, sexual. Then if you don't understand that there's a genuine sexual orientation as a sub-identity of asexuality, there is that where you can fluctuate. Then if you fluctuate and you don't think you'll be accepted, then you wouldn't probably necessarily want to label yourself, because you don't feel you fit in and you feel left out. So these are some of the complications with identity when you're asexual. And also, there's so many sub-identities. So you could be like demisexual, grey romantic, for example. So that means that you don't experience sexual attraction unless a deep emotional connection has been formed. But then your grey asexual, grey romantic asexual, means that you only experience romantic attraction under limited, rare, or specific circumstances, or you experience it but not enough to want to take it any further. However, grey romantic's also a subcategory of identity. So you could be grey romantic, demi-romantic. So you could be demisexual, grey romantic, demi-romantic. So demisexual means you don't experience sexual attraction unless and until a deep emotional bond has been formed. Then you don't experience enough romantic attraction because you're grey romantic. Don't experience enough romantic attraction to act on it, only just a little bit. But you're demi-romantic, so if you develop a deep emotional connection, then there's a possibility you could experience full-blown romance. But otherwise, you only experience it little or infrequently or not enough to want to act on it. So you see, you've got three identities of asexuality there. You've got demisexual as part of the grey asexual part of the asexual spectrum. Then you've got two sub-identities that are on the aromantic asexual spectrum. And so aromanticism means you lack romantic attraction or the usual romantic attraction, right? If you're a pure aromantic, you don't experience any romantic attraction whatsoever. Grey romantic, you experience it a little infrequently or not enough to want to act on it. Demi-romantic, you only experience it when a deep emotional connection has been formed. So this is how someone can be all those different identities. And so it can get quite complex, you know, because you might experience only little attraction romantically for some people. Then there might be one person who comes along in 5 years and all of a sudden you develop a deep emotional connection with them and you find that you're sexually attracted to them and you're romantically attracted to them. And it's like, whoa, what just happened? And this is complex if the person doesn't reciprocate back, or if this person, for example, is heterosexual. You know, if you're a demisexual that is okay having sex after you experience sexual attraction, then that might be fine, right? But if you more repulsed, even though you're demisexual, so you experience sexual attraction, but you might feel the urge to do it, but you're like sex repulsed, then that can prove difficult, right? And you might have just, you know, found that this is the person that you've got this emotional connection with. So navigating asexuality is very complex because there's so many different categories of asexuality. Well, there's two main categories really, pure asexual and grey asexual, but then there's lots of sub-identities which you could call subcategories. But I just like to think of it as two main categories, pure asexuals, grey asexuals, and then lots of sub-identities within those two categories. It's a lot easier to remember it that way and think of it that way. And then if you're, you know, in a relationship, potential relationship, if you're asexual, you then got to navigate all your needs as well as see if you're compatible with their needs. So this means you've got to find out do you like sex? What's your attitude towards sex? Do you want it little, infrequently, regularly? Are you indifferent towards sex? Are you sex repulsed? Like, how much touching do you like? Do you like any sex acts or no sex acts? You know, like, are you introverted or extroverted? Do you need a lot of time with the person? Do you not need a lot of time with the person? Hobbies and interest compatibility. And so it becomes very complex as your identity can have, you know, like main identity, then a couple of subcategory identities. Then you know, you've got to decide whether you just want friends or a relationship and friends. Then you got to decide, do you want it romantic or non-romantic? And asexuals are all spread around the globe. So this makes things a lot more complex. Obviously, you've got the greater world at large. So if you watch television, you've got the media pushing down your throat that basically sex sells, sex is amazing, buy this like Viagra to get yourself hard to have sex, buy this sexy lingerie to attract someone for sex, you know, attend this party to attract someone for sex. Girls have to put makeup on from a young age, even in a lot of kids programs, in order to attract a guy. A guy is like the focal point of a lot of women's lives in TV portrayal. There's a lot of heteronormative, you know, stuff going on in society. There's a lot of people pushing that heterosexuality is the sexuality. There's a lot of people pushing in the world that something is unnatural or wrong if you don't want sex, because sex is natural when it isn't to some people, right? And so you have to navigate your own feelings and emotions when you're new to asexuality, as well as discovering your identity, as well as trying to work out whether you want just friends or a relationship, what the relationship would look like how much communication you want, how much contact, whether it's someone local you want or someone further afield. It's a lot harder to find a compatible asexual for a relationship in your actual area. So most asexuals will have to travel for a relationship, where it's travel just to and from the person, where it's actually eventually moving to live with the person. So if you're a non-mover, someone who can't move from your location, but yet the love of your life is in America, for example, you're in the UK, for example, it's like, Unless one person moves to the other, it's never going to work. If you're both settled in your own places, that's not going to work. And you've got to understand that, like I said, it's hard to find someone compatible if you're asexual in your actual area. You're much better off realizing that you need to go out somewhere, that you need to go further afield, that you need to, you might need to change your preferences a bit if you can, in terms of the age group you like, in terms of the location you want, maybe in terms of some hobbies and interests, but your core values, your core beliefs, ethics and morals, these need to be complemented or the same as the person. You can't have two people with different values because it will just not work out. Then you've got the complexity of some asexuals have got disabilities, some have got mental health needs, some have got anxiety, depression, some have got severe special needs and things like that. So you've got the complexity of added in disabilities and mental health issues going on. So this adds another layer of complexity to the relationship. A lot of asexuals do have anxiety, a lot of them have social anxiety, a lot of them are introverted, and this will affect the relationship, especially if you're extrovert. You like being around people, but your partner or potential partner doesn't. So you have to be thinking about all these things. So the best thing to do is obviously take time out for you when you're new to asexuality. Come to terms with it. Know that it's not a disease. It's not an illness. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. It's absolutely fine to be asexual. There's a lot of benefits, like if you're not having sex, no STDs, no STIs, no messy bed sheets, no worrying and fretting about getting that right, doing the right position, doing the right thing. If you take sex away, then obviously if someone does love you, they love you for you and your personality. They know you, they really care about you. Asexuals tend to love through deep emotional connection as well, so that's something you have to bear in mind. And there are asexual meetup groups. There are asexual meetup groups on meetup.com, on Facebook, in Facebook groups. I run asexual meetups in my city. Although I haven't done a group one this year, only one-to-one, so I'm planning to probably do a group one November, December time. So yeah, it's important to know yourself as well as possible, your likes, dislikes, wants and needs when navigating through the asexual groups as well, because some groups you'll really resonate and you'll be like, oh, my mindset's very similar to that. And other Facebook groups you might feel left out, not in the right group. So you've got to work out which people in the asexual community you resonate with most, which have a similar mindset, and which are going to be good for you to talk to and interact with. Right? If you are trans, then there are specific groups that are more filled with trans people, for example, non-binary people. There's groups for like pan-romantics, groups for demisexuals. I run a dating group for demisexuals and grey asexuals, as well as other groups, So you have to be looking at yourself, get to know yourself, reflect and understand yourself, and come to terms with the fact you are asexual, you are different. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a very beautiful thing. And understand that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You just see the life and world in a different way and see relationships and friendships most likely in a different way as well. And that's good and that's okay. So take your time, like explore channels like this, watch other channels, like read books on asexuality, read my Asexual Perspectives book. This is on Amazon. This is really good because it tells you a lot about asexuality, bust through myths and stereotypes. It tells you like what sexual arousal, sexual attraction, and sexual desire is. It talks about, when did you first discover you're asexual? How did you discover it? Why do you feel in general that society doesn't accept asexuality as a sexual orientation in its own right? What's your deepest fear and concern about asexuality? Are you out about being asexual? It answers all these questions. So even as a question in each chapter of the stories, that the asexual stories where they like BDSM, porn, masturbation, what they think of it basically. And, you can get all that information here because some asexuals do participate in BDSM. So it's really essential that you read around and that you can understand the difference between the myths and stereotypes of asexuality and the truth. Asexuality is not abstaining. Asexuality is not celibacy. Asexuality is not holding yourself back for marriage. It's not repressing and suppressing sexual urges. Asexuality is based on lack of sexual attraction, where you don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse. Some asexuals do masturbate. Some asexuals do watch porn. Some asexuals partake in BDSM even without the sex. So there are a lot of myths and stereotypes that if you're asexual, you can't be this, you can't be having a relationship, you can't be thinking about relationship. Why would you date for asexual? You date if you're asexual because you want still some physical contact. You want someone there for you as a companion. You want the emotional connection. You still want love. You still want connection. You still want some physical touching, usually, even if it's just hugging, well, cuddling. So it's really important to understand that your needs are important. And lots of asexuals may still desire a relationship, like a romantic relationship, but without the sex. So it'd just be similar to a normal relationship, but without the sex element in it. And asexuals do desire emotional connection. They do want to feel loved and supported and have that lifelong love of their life. You know what I mean? It's natural for some asexuals to want that, but other asexuals, they don't want that. They're non-romantic. They don't want a relationship at all. It would creep them out, and they're like, why would I want romance? And some asexuals don't like romance at all. They're really put off by it. They don't like it on TV and movies, just like I don't like nudity in TV and movies and stuff like that. Just like many asexuals don't like sex in movies on TV. They get absolutely fed up with it. I've got no sex movie reviews playlist, by the way, watch that. And then obviously you've got the difficulties when you're around other people that aren't asexual, friends, work colleagues, other people who are studying, like students, if you're a student, because, they'll be talking about sex and sexual acts and stuff like that, like it's a normal part of your world, like you should do it and need to do it and all this type of stuff. And it's like they're speaking a foreign language and you just don't want to hear it. It's like, I've had enough of this. I get enough of this on TV and stuff. And some people feel uncomfortable with asexuality rammed down their throat, but it's like heterosexuality has been rammed down people's throats for years. It's fine for asexuals to talk about asexuality. It's fine for us to like speak our own minds and have our asexual dreams and spread them around, It's really important. So know that it's okay to be asexual. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not a disorder. You don't need to see a doctor. There's nothing medically wrong with you. And it's just a case of you don't get those urges, needs, or wants. You're not repressing or suppressing. If you are repressing and suppressing your emotions due to some sort of trauma, then you would need to see a therapist and maybe a doctor and things like that, because the reason why you don't want sex is coming from a trauma response. It isn't coming from the fact that you don't get the need, urge, want for sex naturally, but obviously a trauma could have then changed how you think and view sex and feel about sex. But if your asexuality is born on something that is a trauma-based response, is some bad thing that happened to you in life, and it's because of that trauma that you don't have sex rather than the fact you don't get the need, urge, or want for it, then that's different, right? Most people who are asexual, born asexual, just didn't realize it. It's not the same as getting old and losing your sex drive. So, which some people think they're like, oh, I've just stopped having a sex drive. It's like, and maybe that's due to age, maybe it's due to depression or something else. It's like, that's not the same as asexuality. And there are some people though that do identify as asexual because they've lost their sex drive. They haven't had it for like years. So I'm not discounting that anyone who stops having a sex drive shouldn't, I'm not discounting they should and saying they shouldn't call themselves asexual. There's someone in this asexual perspective book who said they did lose all their drive for sex. They were like heterosexual for years and then they stopped feeling that way and they're not like that anymore. So everyone is different. Everyone's experience is different. Everyone's experience is valid. You just have to understand that asexuality is not about repressing or suppressing urges or feelings of sexual desire or anything, and it's not about a choice. It's something you naturally are or aren't. And so some people who are on the asexual spectrum through our eyes, who class themselves as demisexual, some demisexuals don't they don't how can I put it, they don't recognize themselves as being as part of the asexual community or asexual spectrum. I met a lesbian who's a demisexual, and she didn't count herself as asexual. She was going to an LGBT event. It was London Pride, actually. This was going back into 2018 when I was a speaker at the UK Asexuality conference. When I said it's part of asexuality, demisexuality, you could see that she looked like, I don't identify as asexual, just demisexual. So, yeah, it was interesting having that conversation with her. And so, asexuality does filter throughout all your life. It filters throughout your childhood. It becomes apparent even though you might not know you're asexual for years, when dealing with relationships, friendships, work colleagues, stuff on television, stuff in magazines, adverts, especially if you're sex repulsed. And obviously, if you've got work colleagues that are saying sexual innuendo stuff, and you're just like, what the hell are they talking about now? I'm so pissed off. I don't want to hear it. This type of thing, and if they're being sexually suggestive, maybe you don't even get the cues, so sexual cues, if you're really not wired that way in your mind, so that can be hard navigating it when you first have someone approach you for a relationship or dating. You can be like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know. But remember, do not accept second best. Do not allow someone to have friends with benefits with you and use you to get what they want, which is sex. Most people on dating sites and dating apps want hookups. The majority do. So always bear that in mind. Don't allow someone to have you as friends with benefits, because that's not a good person that does that. It's just to their advantage for personal gain, right? You're worth more than that. Empower yourself to know that you're worth true love without sex. If you don't want sex ever, know that that's okay, that's fine, and that's good. And it can affect jobs, obviously it's hard if you hate sex and you get a job in the sex industry in some way. So I'm sex repulsed these days, but I went for a job with Ann Summers years ago, which is like sex toys, sex shop, basically, lingerie, sexy lingerie shop. And it's like, and I did all the interviews because I was not working at the time. And then I thought afterwards, like, why did I even go through all the group discussions, exercises, and come all this way to attend an interview for a job I don't even want, because I don't like sex and I'm gonna feel It was a very interesting interview, actually, with all the group activities, but I had no idea why I was doing that. But having said that, obviously I do talk about sex on this channel. I am rating Asexual Guide to Sex book, even though I'm asexual. So again, not everyone who's asexual doesn't dress sexily. Some asexuals dress sexily. Some asexuals wear sexy clothing, show their cleavage and stuff like that. And so that makes it harder for people to believe they're asexual. But often, there are some asexuals that do that. There are also some people who come on asexual dating apps that are not really asexual, and they just pretend they are, and they're very sexual. And there's also navigating the fact that most people in the world do not understand asexuality. The word asexual, a lot of people think, means that you're advertising you're a highly sexual person. So you've got a lot of misunderstandings there, misconceptions, as well as the myths and stereotypes that no asexual ever has sex. Asexuals just want friends, they don't actually want a relationship, and all this load of rubbish. It's just rubbish. So you have to understand yourself first, understand the world around you and how you relate to it and how it relates to you. Know that your difference is your beauty, and that you can navigate life's challenges and be happy as your beautiful asexual self. Tell yourself you love yourself, make yourself happy, and know that it's okay to be you. It's really important. Get into a community of people who are like-minded, such as Facebook groups. There's some asexuals on Reddit and Discord and other various places. So connect with people who are like-minded, who are like you, who understand you. And nourish your inner soul, do what's good for you. If you like a certain hobby, then go and do it. If you have a certain interest, go and do it. You don't need to give up on relationships. Just understand they're going to be harder to navigate when you're asexual, because you've got different needs a lot of the time to sexuals, for example. So it's about having a lot of self-awareness, thinking about what you want in your life, relationships, friendships, then going after that and taking the action. It's about realizing that just because the majority of the world thinks sex is natural and they're sex orientated doesn't mean to say it's right what they're saying, doesn't mean to say it's good what they're saying. And you always can have the power to walk away from someone who's not treating you well as an asexual person. Don't think you can't get someone, we can only get a certain type of person just because you're asexual, because that's not true. Love yourself more than ever. Give yourself time to maybe grieve an old life. If you're feeling upset about coming to terms with asexuality, give yourself time to grieve the old life you thought you were, whether that was a lesbian, bisexual, heterosexual. Then you realize you're asexual, Give yourself time to grieve, come to terms with the new identity. Tell trusted friends or family members first before you tell other people. But come out as that and be proud to be who you are. No, the road is never easy, but it's the best one. And it's the only one to make yourself happy. And think of that path, think of that solution, be solution focused and go for it. Because you're damn worth it. And you're ace. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. Grab a copy of Asexual Perspectives on Amazon. And I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Thumbs up if you like this video and share it with anyone who may benefit. Lots of love. Bye.